the White House and Democrats writ large that weren't sure how to defend her against the racism and sexism that was coming.
They're not going to have to. If Donald Trump keeps speaking like that, I can tell you that for women, you look at that, and it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, you go, how dare he? That is the Vice President of the United States. She's an accomplished woman. A bum, it's projection. He's talking about himself. This is coming from a guy who has been, bankrupt how many times, whose daddy had to give him money to start what he was doing, whose daddy had to bail him out when he was bankrupt, who has, he's a 34-count convicted felon who is under indictment for stealing national security secrets, who has to pay $500 million because of business fraud. You want to talk about a bum? How dare he speak to her like that? And I can tell you right now that there are women in this country who are sick and tired of mediocre men like Donald Trump failing up because of their daddy's money. And then you're going to come out here and talk about women? Enough. And that goes across racial lines.
Will not stand for the disrespect.
They're not going to stand for that. They're tired of it. They're tired of men standing on women's shoulders and taking credit for it at the same time, too. So I'm telling you, let Trump and MAGA keep this up. Women are looking at this and saying enough is enough is enough. We're going to save this democracy. I'm telling you right now. Keep it up, MAGA. At your own.
Meanwhile,
how you think that will resonate with women when she is called nasty and crazy and a ding dong and all and disrespectful between you and the president, what has been said about her. I'm just wondering, do you worry how that comes across? And maybe you draw no distinction between a female candidate and a male, and that's fair game, but that this could hurt you with female voters with these type of comments.
Well, let me say it again.
Sure.
The vice president is a candidate for president of the United States. I don't care about her gender. Neil, maybe you do, but I don't. I don't care about her race. I care about her
competence. Then why call her a ding-dong?
And I'm telling you what the polling shows. I'm telling you what the polling shows. And it does. And I'll be glad to sit down with you and walk you through the polls.
Please do, because I never know when it's constructive to call people names, Senator. On the left or the right. But
I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings, but.
All right, guys, so I really take no pleasure in making this video, but I have to because Fox News is apparently upset with Republicans for calling Kamala Harris mean names. And stories like this really, really, really annoy me because it reminds me of what I really don't like about the Republican Party, okay? Because when Democrats accuse them of racism, sexism, bigotry, which they do for literally everything, okay? Because Democrats don't want to debate the policies. They do that as a way to distract and to deflect. Republicans fall for it, handicapping themselves in regards to how they can attack Democrats. However, Democrats never handicap themselves in regards to how they can attack Republicans, regardless of whose feelings get hurt, okay? But it seems as if Republicans have to care about people's feelings and whether or not their feelings get hurt, while Democrats do not have to care about whose feelings they hurt. They're just going to say whatever their base wants to hear, right? Whatever they want, okay, in order to get votes. And that's it, right? It doesn't matter how hateful it is. Doesn't matter how bigoted it is. Doesn't matter how racist it is. They just say whatever they want. They never back down, okay? But Republicans, they always have to take the high road. Now, again, I'm not entirely sure why that is the case, okay? But I'm sick and tired of it, right? And these videos I'm going to talk about today are a prime example of what I'm talking about, because you would expect an outlet like MSNBC to be boohoo-whining and crying about Trump calling Kamala Harris a bum, which Kamala Harris is a bum compared to Trump. By definition, I mean, Trump is a billionaire, okay? Kamala Harris is a politician, right? If you haven't figured out by now, it's not really the politicians running the country. It's the people that, pay the politicians, okay, that buy the politicians. Those are the people that are actually really running the country, okay? Let's keep it 100. They threw Joe Biden out, okay? The plutocrats are the ones that are really in charge here. And rest assured, Kamala Harris is just another puppet. But my point here is that I expect MSNBC to get upset about Trump attacking Kamala into boohoo, whine, and cry, bigotry, and hate. Okay, that's expected at the end of the day, right? That outlet is fully Trump deranged. I understand it. I get it. What I don't expect is for Fox News to boohoo, whine, and cry about how Republican rhetoric could possibly hurt the feelings of liberal women who are not going to vote for Trump anyways. But that is something that Fox News wants to talk to Republicans about on their platform today.
Look, this is anecdotal, but I've been hearing a lot from women. They are not happy with what Trump has been saying and some of the language that he's using about Kamala Harris. It's insulting. Should he tone down his language?
I think what we should do is let's look at the message. Are we trying to get our country back on course? Are we trying to stop what's going on at the border? Are we trying to stop the raping and the killing of Americans across the country? Are we tired?
But hold on a second,
Americans
Congressman. I mean, I've been out and about over the weekend, and when Donald Trump called Kamala Harris dumb, that was a profound mistake, in my opinion. Women react to that kind of thing, and so they should. I mean, don't you think he should tone down the language? And okay, get through to the central message by all means, but tone the language down. He said he was going to be nice, and then he says, oh, I'm not going to be nice. I think that's a mistake.
Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. I'm going to tell you guys right now how the Democrats view that, how the liberal media views that. They view that as weakness, right? That's not strength. That's weakness. They're going to say, see, look, you have Fox News hosts lecturing Republicans on their language, right? Their language must be bad. It must be terrible. Women must be so turned off by this, right? Like we told you guys, right? These people are sexist, okay? This is what the mainstream liberal media is going to do. They smell blood in the water. Democrats smell blood in the water. And just like sharks, they go after it. That's what they're doing right now. That's what they're doing. They've just repeated the same talking points over and over about how every criticism of Kamala Harris is bigoted, racist, sexist, DEI. It's racist. Well, why are they doing that? Well, they're doing that because they know that eventually you're going to fold. And when you fold, that's a sign of weakness. When you got Mike Johnson holding meetings with Republicans telling them not to call Kamala Harris a DEI hire, again, how do the liberal media and the Democrats view that? Oh, well, Republicans, their speaker had to sat them down and tell them how racist they are. That's how racist they are. Even the speaker, even the leadership had to say, hey, you guys have been a little bit too racist to Kamala. That is the way they're framing it. They're not giving you any brownie points, right? They're not saying, oh, well, maybe you should consider voting for Republicans because Mike Johnson came out and said that his colleagues should stop calling Kamala Harris a DEI hire. That's not how this works. That's not how it works at all. But you got these people who really do believe that Republicans have to handicap themselves in ways that Democrats don't have to handicap themselves in order to win elections, even though I don't know if there's any proof that that's true. What is the proof that Republicans are going to lose because they decide to fight fire with fire? Because that's what's happening here, guys. The other side of the aisle is calling Trump Hitler. They're saying Trump and J.D. Vance are weird. Kamala Harris called Trump an adjudicated rapist. Those are the terms they're using. They're calling Trump a convicted felon, a criminal in every other sentence. But yet we're supposed to use softer language. Make sure you don't upset them women. But do Democrats ever have backroom meetings where they talk about how they need to tone down the rhetoric? Right? Liberal media and the Democrats got pressure to tone down the rhetoric after Trump almost got his brains blown out in a failed assassination attempt. They tried for a day, right? They tried. They took Joe Scarborough off air for a day, but it was over after a day. It was over. They were back, gloves off. Trump is Hitler again. He's the Antichrist. He's a threat to democracy. The world's going to end if he's reelected. He's a dictator. He's a rapist, right? This is what they're back to. But Republicans, they're having a falling out over whether or not it's appropriate to call Kamala Harris a DEI hire or dumb, which is essentially what Neil Cavuto is going to take issue with, because John Kennedy called Kamala Harris a ding-dong. And I'm glad to say that John Kennedy is a Republican with some cojones, and he's going to stand up, as all Republicans should, when it comes to their attacks against Kamala Harris, and not back down or apologize, because when you apologize, you're showing that you're weak. An apology is an admission that you're wrong. This is why Democrats never apologize, because Democrats never admit that they're wrong, okay? They never admit that they're wrong. They will come up with some excuse or some way to rationalize their hypocrisy or them not being right. But they never, ever, ever apologize. They never, ever, ever admit that they're wrong. They never backpedal. They just double and triple down. And this is what Republicans need to do too, okay? Because, again, an apology is an admission of guilt. It is a sign of weakness.
Strength, our national security strength through weakness, that if we just sit down with our enemies and have a cup of hot cocoa and give them a hug, that they'll be nice to us.
I don't know if she suggested the cup of hot coffee. You raised a number of very clear issues, substantive issues that could be debated. I guess all I'm saying, for all the problems and calling her a loon and all that, and I get it. I know it's political season and that happens on both sides.
I didn't call her a loon, Neil. You're putting words in my mouth. I said she's a member. She's a member of the loon wing of the Democratic Party, and there is a loon wing of the Democratic Party.
What's the difference between the...
Fact. That's a fact. She's a part of the loon wing of the Democrat Party. She's a far left Democrat. Far left Democrats are lunatics, right? They're lunatics. Now, again, I think that is a lot better than calling somebody a domestic terrorist, which is what people on the left frequently call people on the right, MAGA, right? Domestic terrorists. I'm just saying that, Kamala Harris is a loon, right? I'm not calling her domestic terrorist, right? But even when you call her a loon, something that is much softer than the language that the left uses for the right, that's still a problem. You got to tone it down. And it's like, why do I have to tone it down? But they don't, right? They can just call me whatever and get away with it. Again, this right here, it bothers me. It really does. The fact that Neil Cavuto is even asking this question tells you that it's working, right? The left wing and their psyop to engineer Kamala Harris into some type of victim is working, okay? When you have a Fox News host questioning Republicans on their rhetoric, when you will never, ever, ever see a host on MSNBC ever question a Democrat on their rhetoric about Trump. You will never see that. But when you see it happen on Fox, people aren't looking at that and saying, oh, well, conservatives are better. They're just better people than liberals, right? I don't think that's what people are saying. I really think that people see weakness.
When that interview surfaced, two things leapt to my mind. Those of us who talk for a living make mistakes. We say things that in hindsight we might phrase differently or better or not at all. Some people choose not to have children. Others desperately want them, but they can't. In a moment, we'll speak with Senator J.D. Vance. We have never met before, but we have many friends in common who tell me that he is smart and he is talented and he is more than capable. None is perfect, no, not one. That's what the good book says. And the American people are forgiving if we ask.
That is a jaw-dropping introduction of J.D. Vance on Fox News. So when then Vance came on, here's how he responded to the criticism of his comments.
Do you agree that there are people who very much love this country and are invested in its future, but they also happen to be childless?
Oh, of course I believe that, Trey. And if you look at the full context of what I said, it's very clear the Democrats have tried to take this thing out of context and blow it out of proportion, which is what they always do, Trey, because they don't have an agenda to run on themselves. Really what I'm trying to get at here, Trey, is that it's important for us to be pro-family as a country. Of course, for a whole host of reasons, it's not going to work out for some people. We should pray for those people and, of course, have sympathy for them. I still think that means we should be pro-family, generally speaking, as a party. And I think that our country has become particularly hard for parents, especially under the policies of Kamala Harris.
So, Jen, efforts to clean that up have failed to this point, to put it mildly. And I think the fact this became a thing on Fox News last night shows this has broken through. This is a real thing that Trump fans now have to deal with.
And my point is that the only reason that it's a thing is because Republicans are making it a thing by acknowledging that it's a thing, okay? Again, Democrats never, ever, ever have to answer for the controversial shit that they say all the time, okay? Has Kamala Harris done any interview where she's had to answer any questions yet? Any tough questions? No. Has Kamala Harris apologized for the border? No. Has Kamala Harris apologized for blocking DNA evidence that would have exonerated an innocent man from death row, okay, until she was forced to by the courts? Has she apologized for that? No. Has Kamala Harris apologized for supporting the release of murderers back on the street by tweeting a link to the Minnesota Bail Fund? Has she apologized for that? All the families impacted by the murderers that she supported, the criminals that she supported? No, she hasn't. Has she apologized for calling Trump a adjudicated rapist? No. Has she apologized for calling Trump a threat to democracy? No. Has she apologized for calling Trump weird? No. Has anybody asked her to apologize for it? No. Right? So, again, I'm trying to figure out, why are Republicans being asked to apologize for anything when Democrats never get asked to apologize? To me, it doesn't make sense. That's what pisses me off about this. And I know some people are going to disagree with me and say, oh, no, you should just stick with the policies and stick with the substantive criticisms. And I'm here to tell you guys, they're not trying to make it about policy. They're not trying to talk about policy. Because even if you say something like, for example, Kamala Harris is incompetent, which is a substantive criticism. Calling into question her judgment is a substantive criticism. They're going to say you're racist. Well, you're racist for questioning Kamala Harris's judgment. For calling a black woman incompetent, you're racist. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. It really is. Yes, Republicans should focus on policy, but I'm here to tell you that no matter what, they're not trying to talk about policy. They're going to say it's racist to criticize Kamala Harris on anything. So you might as well stop giving an F.
Who have now taken another look at her, and maybe it's short-lived, to your point, Senator. She is running even with Donald Trump, and I'm just wondering about the approach you're taking, and it's very artful, don't get me wrong, and you raise a lot of substantive issues. It's going to come back to bite your hinds, isn't it? Aren't you concerned about that?
I'm telling you what I think the American people think. It may not be what I think, and it may not be what you think, but this is Washington.
Then what do you think the polls that shows that she's running even with Donald Trump, regardless of what either you or I think?
Those polls are not indicative of anything in regards to whether or not people feel like Trump's attacks against Kamala are too mean, right? They don't tell you anything about that because in her polls, she's not doing much better than she was before Biden dropped out or before the debate with Joe Biden and Trump. She's not doing much better. She's only up by a point. Again, this is what I'm talking about. When you have Fox News pushing narratives from the liberal media about Republican attacks against Kamala being too mean. Now they're pushing a liberal media narrative about the polls. Oh, she's doing so great. There's so much momentum. No, she's only up by a point, guys. A point. She's not gaining any momentum. This stuff is fake, okay? And that's not to say her poll numbers won't go up. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying as of right now, again, the momentum is not there. Not as much as they're saying. They're manufacturing momentum for her by continuing to manufacture this reality that, oh, well, she's going to beat Trump. She's going to pass Trump. And the more that people say this, the more that people are going to believe it. Right now, Democrats need hope, right? They're grasping for hopium, okay? And you're giving them hopium by going along with their narratives and doing interviews like this.
Well, the polls that I have seen, the most recent polls, you can't just look at the top lines, Neil. You've got to look at the crosstabs. And if you look at the crosstabs and really drill down and see what people think, let me say it again. The polling that I've seen shows that many Americans think that the vice president is not a serious person. As I said, that she's a bit of a ding-dong. And number two, that she is a member of the loon wing of the Democratic Party. She's a San Francisco Democrat. She's just like Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, except without the bartending experience. She is not mainstream. And the point I was trying to make was that by making her first policy position known on abortion, the idea that we should have a law that says you can have an abortion at any point, no questions asked, even up until the moment of birth, I think for most Americans is a loon wing position. That's just my opinion, and but that's also what the
just
polls show.
No, you're absolutely fair game to make it. I'm just wondering how you think that will resonate with women when she is called nasty and crazy and a ding dong and all. And this,
what's funny about this? Nobody ever asked, how do you think it will resonate with men by continuously calling Trump mean names? Right? Nobody ever says that because it's expected that a man should be able to handle this, right? But when it comes to women who also say, hey, we want equal rights, okay, we want to be treated just like men. Now, all of a sudden, again, a woman is getting treated like a man, getting attacked the same way that a man would get attacked. Oh, no, that's mean. You can't do that. Women are going to get sad and upset. Again, newsflash. These women who are going to get upset, who, by the way, are apparently totally fine with the rhetoric from the mainstream media and Democrats after an assassination attempt on President Trump, when their rhetoric, likely could have led to that, right? These same women that don't seem to care about that, they're going to care so much about Trump calling Kamala Harris a dummy, or John Kennedy calling Kamala Harris a ding-dong. They're going to care so much. It's going to hurt their feelings. Well, I'm here to tell you, the mystical suburban woman that everybody's so worried about this election, okay, at least when it comes to the issue of rhetoric, right? If you're having to decide between Trump and Kamala Harris, and again, if you are actually undecided, you're legitimately undecided, I really don't know what to tell you, right? But if rhetoric actually matters, okay, and you're not turned off by the rhetoric of the Democrats enough not to vote for them, but somehow you're turned off by Trump's rhetoric towards Democrats, you were never going to vote for Trump, right? There was zero possibility of you voting for Trump. That is what bothers me the most about this. Republicans need to watch their rhetoric nonsense. Again, I'm trying to figure out, why is it that Democrats are never told that? Why do they get free reign to do it? And also, why are they never hurt by it, right? Why don't they seem to get hurt? Why do they seem to suffer when it comes to their rhetoric? Because if rhetoric was that big of a deal in regards to saying things that are mean-spirited about your opponent, the Democrat Party should be non-existent, right? If that's the case, if it was really that big of a deal, it seems to me that a lot of these people just want to live in a world where Republicans are not allowed to tell the truth. They're just not allowed to. It doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't matter how they frame it. They're going to say it's racist anyways. So why even hold back? That's what I don't understand.
Disrespectful between you and the president, what has been said about her. I'm just wondering, do you worry how that comes across? And maybe you draw no distinction between a female candidate and a male, and that's fair game. But that this could hurt you with female voters with these type of comments.
Well, let me say it again.
Sure.
The vice president is a candidate for president of the United States. I don't care about her gender. Neil, maybe you do, but I don't. I don't care about her race. I care about her
Then
competence.
why call her a ding-dong? Why call her a ding-dong?
And I'm telling you what the polling shows. I'm telling you what the polling shows. Right. And it does. And I'll be glad to sit down with you and walk you through the polls.
Please do, because I never know when it's constructive to call people names, Senator. On the left or the right. But
I'm sorry that it hurts your feelings, but let me say it again.
Senator, you keep bringing it back to my feelings. My feelings matter a little. All I'm telling you is, if you think you can gain this November calling people names, I don't know how far that goes, left or right, but we'll see. It's still early, to your point.
Your feelings seem to me like they matter to you a lot, Neil, and I'm trying to be objective here. Let me say it again.
Are you really being objective, Senator? I just think you've got a bash-a-thon, a name-calling at her. If you call that being objective, I don't know. But, Senator, I do want to thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me, Neil. I hope you have a better day.
Yeah, so do I. Hope you have a better day. We'll have more after this.
Again, MSNBC, CNN, Democrats, they're watching that and they're licking their chops. They're saying, look, we got these people on Fox News getting pressed by their reporters, their hosts, on saying mean things about our candidate, right? Again, you're taking away your ability to attack Kamala Harris, but Democrats never do that. That never happens. Democrats are never told that, you're going too far. How are certain voters going to feel about that, right? How many times has anybody asked a Democrat, how are white voters are going to feel about that rhetoric that you're putting out here, right? How are they going to feel about that? They never ask that. They just say whatever they want to say because they're allowed to say it and they understand how the game works. That apologizing, explaining yourself is a sign of weakness, because if you actually believe what you believe, if you think it's the truth, then you stand on it. You don't apologize for it. That means that you actually believe it, and people respect that. I don't want to be liked. I want to be respected. And that's what Republicans got to understand. You're not going to be liked, okay? But you do want to be respected, and nobody can respect somebody who can't stand on the things that they say just because they're being called racist or sexist, or they're getting some pushback for it. If you actually believe it, stand on it. And that's exactly what John Kennedy just did. And that's what more Republicans should do, which is to stand on it. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.